Welcome to Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. This is my wife, Dr. Alicia Watkins, and we're both professors. I'm a finance professor. My wife is a professor of social work, and we like to get online and have some intelligent conversations every now and then. And we are actually broadcasting from Hawaii after a long day of flying. And so, how you doing today, babe?
I'm doing pretty good considering that flight was the longest flight in the entire world. There is no
It
flight
was,
longer than that.
yeah,
I know
Hawaii.
that's not true, but that's how it felt.
Yeah, Hawaii is ridiculous. We have to fly all the way across the country to LA and then fly another 5.5 hours or whatever to get to Hawaii. It's way too much. But anyway, how many of y'all in the chat, give me a yes or no if you followed that whole situation with the black player with LSU with the national championship, Angel Reese, kind of doing a gesture where it offended some people. Apparently, some people got pretty upset and Angel Reese got into a back and forth with an offer, or excuse me, with another athlete named Caitlin Clark, and and at the end of the game, she did this gesture, which is I guess you can't see me, right? It came from WWE, and there was a lot of reaction online and a lot of conversation about the racial element because, or in fact, Keith Olbermann actually called her an effing idiot and he actually put that on online, which was crazy that he said that. And but what people didn't realize is that the white girl had done the same thing, that she had actually done the same thing to another player on another team. And when the white girl did it, it was seen as, her having swag and almost heroic and super cool. Whereas when the black girl did the same thing, it was called tasteless and a disgrace and all these other things. So anyway, let me feel free to share your comments in the chat, and I want to start with my wife. So, babe, what did you think when you saw this?
Man, when I first saw that, and you saw the comment I put in the message, it was like, that's the story of my life. That's the story of my life. The contradictions, the double standards. That's what I live with ever since I left my wonderful life in Gary, Indiana, and embarked my life into the world of academia and higher education. You're just held to such a different standard. And even to this day, I feel like I'm held to a different standard. And this is an example of it. You can't get away from it, even in sports. And what's beautiful about sports, though, is that it's everybody can see it. It's just like glaring. It is obvious. You can have pictures, side by side pictures, but I think this is happening in everybody's day to day life, and we don't get pictures. All we get is you're just making it up, or you don't know what you're talking about. All the gaslighting that happens. But I love this illustration. Story of
Okay,
my life, boys.
so you're saying that like the double standard that was sort of taking place in this incident is a reflection of what Black people go through every single day on the job, what Black people go through just in society, how we can do the exact same thing that a white person does, and the world will interpret it in a different way. Is that kind of what you're referring to?
Yeah, I mean, it in academia and at the job, all of us have experienced this, where we say or do something and it's seen as hostile. You're not being a team player. You're being angry black woman. Just all these stereotypes that are thrown at us. That's been thrown at me personally, and it's just great because I look at something like that and I'm like, there we go. There we go. Yet another thing. So it got me all kind of worked up today, boys. But I'm going to
Wow.
relax myself because I'm in nice, relaxed island here. So,
I
I mean, what was your reaction? What was your initial reaction?
mean, this is America. This is American media, and what I really, do agree with 100% is that, you have so many examples where we will do the same thing as everybody else, and it'll be seen completely differently. I heard a guy make a joke one time where he said that, he said, for example, if there's a Coke machine at the job and everybody, hits the Coke machine and gets a free Coke, that it's okay. And then when the day the black guy goes up and hits the Coke machine and gets a free Coke, they say, "Oh, we got to fix that Coke machine," right?
or no, wait a minute. I thought you were gonna say he gets a free Coke machine and be like, oh, he's stealing. He's stealing
Yeah,
the Coke. And we got to
that
write him
too.
up now. We're going to write him
That
up and
too.
we're going to have a serious conversation about workplace ethics and
Right,
doing the right
right,
thing at
right.
work.
This is
It's total.
outrageous, and
It's a double standard.
well, you
Oh
know what?
yeah.
Let me give everybody the background. And by the way, do me a favor, if you could, please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. This is my wife, Dr. Alicia Watkins, and my wife is a licensed therapist and a full professor of social work. So we like to have intelligent Black conversations that elevate the discussion, right? So we'll talk about the things that are going on in the media, but it's really a matter of figuring out how we can be smarter from it and learn from it. And you can actually get a free copy of my book, Financial Lovemaking, by going to boyceandalicia.com. And some of you are asking about Dr. Alicia and her website. She does see clients. She does a lot of coaching and therapy, things like that. So feel free to go to coachingwithdralicia.com. I'm going to leave that URL on the screen if you want to go see what Dr. Alicia does. So let me kind of give a perspective on it to kind of help us understand. So here's the background first off, just in case nobody really knows the details. So the national championship game, that's Angel Reese. Angel Reese is the Black girl who was heavily criticized for for basically allegedly taunting the white girl, the poor innocent white girl, Caitlin Clark, right? So Caitlin looking pretty innocent, like she's kind of befuddled because Iowa just got they ass whooped in the national championship game. I mean, literally got their butt whooped. LSU just beat the snot out of Iowa, and I think they beat them by maybe 15 points or something like that. Well, after the celebration took place, a lot of people didn't even notice it. They were saying that okay, it's part of the game. People taunt each other, whatever. But afterward, there was some commentary online from people like Keith Olbermann, who called Angel Reese an effing idiot. And that led to some controversy because then people started pointing out that Caitlin Clark had kind of done the same thing that Angel did. That Caitlin Clark, that she was not some innocent damsel in distress. She was not somebody who was a victim of some violent Black woman. She was a person who also played the game of sports taunting and kind of getting in people's faces and all that. But let me just say this. There's the racial aspect of this conversation, but I think this was such a great thing to happen for women's sports. I love it because I love the fact that these really super talented, super capable female athletes are getting the attention they deserve. This sort of rivalry, controversy, even racial tension, that elevates a sport. They've been doing that in boxing since forever. If you watch the movie The Great White Hype, anybody remember The Great White Hype with Damon Wayans and Method Man was in it? And they found a white boy to become his rival, and everybody bought a ticket to see this white boy and this Black dude kind of go at it. And I feel like this is kind of the same thing. Or when Magic and Bird were going at it, when Magic and Bird and the Lakers and the Celtics were going back and forth, that was a big deal too, right? That elevated the NBA. So I personally think that this rivalry, this sort of heated tension and passion, is really going to make people want to turn on the game. And I think it's great. I mean, and so if you can see the big picture of it from a business standpoint, this to me was one of the more significant, more impactful moments in women's sports. Think about this. Most of us aren't typically talking about the women's NCAA basketball championship the day after the game. So I think it's awesome. I actually think it's really good for the sport.
Okay, I hear you, boys. I'm squirming in my chair because it makes sense. But at the same time, this is a Black woman we're talking about. And I think it's the image of Black women and all of the things, the negative stereotypes that are ascribed to our behavior, because we want to celebrate our success. The thing is that I didn't realize that they had beaten that team so badly. But I mean, Iowa team, I was just looking at the team itself. Like Iowa was a very white looking team, right?
Well, it's Iowa. What do you expect?
Well, they tried to recruit, but LSU, all these Black women who are in there dominating, and to play sports really well, you have to have confidence, you have to believe in yourself, you have to work together as a team, like all of the elements that it takes for you to play a game intelligently. Because to win an NCAA championship, not only do you have to have the skills, but you have to have the coaching, you have to have all of these things coming together perfectly. They outsmarted this team, they outplayed this team, they outforced this team, and there's a sort of don't you think there's sort of a implicit bias against Black women for that? It's almost like
Mm.
Maybe it's the great white hype, which you're talking about, but the implicit bias part about about the behavior of Angel, that's the part that sticks out to me. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's good for the sport. I think it's a great illustration, but I'm not gonna clap this incident up. I'm not championing this incident at all.
Well,
Uh-uh.
I hear that. I hear that. I think it's it comes with pros and cons, right? And you are right. There is some bias against Black women. I think that there are people that are going to interpret it in a certain way. But what I like Angel Reese's approach. She's kind of like, look, I'm gonna just be me, and that's it. And the truth
Yeah.
is, and also I think it's important to really say, what if these were two men? What if these were just two dudes that where after the game, one of them was like taunting the other one. Here's the thing. Here's the truth though. If those were two men taunting each other after the game, there will be people who'd be critical of that. There will be people who say, look, man, you won your championship. Don't be a sore winner or a sore loser. Like being a sore loser or sore winner is seen in a certain way, even if you're feeling the tension and the anger after the game or whatever. But the thing is, though, at the same time, these two women were going at it. They were battling back and forth the whole game. And they're young. And so all this energy kind of spills out. And so you kind of, I don't know. I think that from a mentorship standpoint, I would mentor Angel and say, look, you already won the championship. She knows what you got. She knows what you can do. You don't have to rub it in. Like the game's over. Okay, the game's over. Shake her hand, congratulate her on a great game, and move on. I don't
No.
think you have to stay in your feelings after you actually won the game.
Yeah, I don't think this is an issue about taunting. I think this is an issue about implicit bias and racism and the racist remarks of these people
Mm,
who don't even know this unconscious bias that they have against Black women. Look, we just came off
mm,
a Women's History Month that was preceded by Black History Month, and right here on the first day of April, we going back to denigrating Black women. It is not about taunting. It is not about sportsmanship. It is about what we ascribe to the behaviors of Black women as something negative, neutral behavior. It could have even been neutral behavior. It could have been celebratory. It could have been anything. I think as a Black woman coming off of those 2 months, I should feel uplifted, and I don't. I
mm,
should be looking at images of myself in a positive way, and I can't because
mm,
those aren't the images that are given to me. And when I do actually see a Black woman killing it in her sport, whatever the sport is, it could be lawyers, doctors, whatever, we get scrutinized. I'm so
mm.
tired of being scrutinized personally. There's no cameras around. And I hate to see this nice, young, smart, intelligent Black lady get scrutinized.
Okay, I can see that. Yeah, well, Madam
That's how I feel.
President, Madam President, I shared her video on my Instagram. My Instagram is the Real Boyce Watkins, and she has some perspectives that would probably be in alignment with what you just said. And I do think that it is important to hear from Black women in terms of how they feel, sort of living in a world where they are scrutinized in certain ways that are just simply unfair. I kind of also look at it. I look at it like this. I kind of see it as at the end of the day, you know, what do you care what people say about you? You know, I don't really care if my enemies love me or not. If they still have to say, well, he won, that's the ultimate win. Like, so I'm right now I see Angel's winning. And I think that's the part where I feel kind of like she didn't even need to taunt nobody. Like sometimes the biggest way you could really hammer somebody is to beat their ass and then be friendly about it. Like, help them off the ground after you just body slam them to the floor. Like, I think that's kind of a cool taunt in a way. It's like the non-taunting taunt. So I kind of feel like she didn't have to do all this extra stuff. And I really think even if she was a guy, even if she was a black man, a white man doing that same stuff after she won, that sort of taunting does reflect a type of insecurity that I don't think is good for sports. But I do agree with you, though. I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
The thing is, I
not, I'm
don't
not feeling that.
because I don't think we have to live in a world where people are afraid to critique a black woman just because they think black women are oversensitive, right? Like, I don't think you want that perception either.
Okay, here's the thing. Like, the answer is not sitting Angel aside and teaching her how to be different. That's not the answer. The answer is maybe if you say anything to Angel, is saying, you know what, do what you feel like you need to do. You're okay, whatever you want to do, and don't care what anybody else says. That's what you say to her. That's the proper mentorship. Yes, you did what you did, and it was okay. You were in the moment, and you feel whatever you feel in the moment, and it is okay. Do not care what if someone calls you an effing idiot. Just ignore it and don't even care, and just go and do your thing. I don't think the answer is dealing with the person who's on the receiving end of these comments, that were not uplifting, these non-uplifting comments. I don't think you should go to the person who's on the receiving end of that. I think you should go and talk to them and build them up, because clearly they get torn down enough. As a Black woman, you get torn down enough and scrutinized enough. The answer is not to continue to scrutinize that person by saying, well, just smile and walk off the court. No, she did what she did. She should stand by it. I think if she had to take it back, she should do the exact same thing. I don't think she needs to change her behavior. I think society needs to change the way they look at Black women.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, I can hear that. I can hear that. By the way, you're watching Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. This is my wife, Dr. Alicia Watkins. We're both professors. I'm a professor of finance. She is in social work, and also she's a licensed therapist. If you'd like to learn more about the work she does, you can visit coachingwithdralicia.com. The URL's on the screen. Also, I have a new book out called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. It's a best-selling book. You can feel free to go take a look at Amazon. And also, I'll be in Houston doing a Black Wealth Boot Camp on April 21st. So if you'd like to join us in Houston, feel free to go to boycewatkins.com. All right, so let me kind of lay that out there. Here's what I want to say. Here's the way I kind of analyze stuff like this is I say, what if you switch the gender? You know, what if it was a guy, you know, who like you and I were on the phone for hours, you know, with Kanye West, and Kanye has done things that have been criticized and critiqued. Where he ran up on stage, you know, when he thought Beyonce should have got the award of Taylor Swift and all that. And when I was talking to Kanye, if Kanye were to want my advice, which he didn't ask for my advice on that or what I thought about that, I'd probably say, you know, I think that there's better ways for you to handle your emotions, better ways for you to express yourself, right? But you're right. He doesn't have to listen to me. He can live in his own grace and do what he wants to do. But I think that the truth of the matter, though, is that I think it's very dangerous to go through life where you are so where you got such a chip on your shoulder about being criticized that you don't receive any criticism. That everything that you hear is way to go, you go boy, you do you. What you did was perfect. What you did was right. You did it in the moment. You stand by that. I get that, right? I understand that, right? Like I'm not a big fan of Black men running around here apologizing constantly for things that they don't need to apologize for. But I do believe that when a Black man does do something that requires an apology, he should be willing to say, you know what, I could have done better, or be willing to take advice, right? So I'm trying to figure out why with Angel being a Black woman, why that rule would not apply. Like if that was my daughter, I don't think I'd feel comfortable. Or if that was my son, I don't think I feel comfortable saying, son, what you did was right. That's right. You put your hand in your face and you did it. I would probably say, son, you kicked his ass. You whooped you tore him down. You beat him up. You beat him down. He's feeling like crap already. You don't have to make him feel worse because he already feels bad enough for losing. I don't know what's wrong with that per se. I mean, and I don't think Angel's a villain though. I don't think anybody has the right to make her a villain because we all saw that the white girl did the same thing earlier, right? We all saw that she was kind of responding to energy that she was already receiving. And I think that's what the media missed. That's why they were wrong to vilify her. So we know that's a fact. Now, given that we've agreed that they were wrong to vilify her, does that mean that that everything she did was okay because she was a victim? Like, what do you think?
The issue is the double standard. The issue is living your life in a world where there's one set of rules for you that you have to live by. And the issue is also that, listen, all of us make mistakes. But the issue is that you are not a mistake because your behavior made a mistake. I feel as if the scrutiny of being perfect and being held up to this high level of standard, and that no one else can actually feel that you have to be perfect. I think that's the problem. If living in a world where if you make a mistake, you are considered a mistake and demoralized because of it. You know, we should live in the world where all of us are able to make mistakes. We all should grow. We all need to be able to. I mean, Kanye West, we all could always do something better. But the problem is that one little tiny thing that you do, we're just going to pound upon that and just make that part of who you are as a person. You are a mistake. And I think that's the issue that I have with this whole thing with Angel and Caitlin. That's the whole issue that I have with it. And I think that's the point of what I want to say is that we all should we should be given the ability to explore this world, to do things right, to get things wrong, and it should be okay in that process of learning about who and what we are. But the problem is that when we're held to a standard where we can't do one thing wrong and it's the end of the world, our career is over, these dire consequences from one little thing we got wrong. That's what I'm talking about, the double standard.
Okay. Well, you know what? And I think that makes perfect sense, right? I think that there certainly is a double standard. I think everybody has the right to do what they want. I think that it's 100%, and it's very important to make it 100% clear that Angel Reese is okay. Like that there's nothing, it's not to say that there's something wrong with her or that she's a bad person. This is not a conversation about that at all. In fact, I don't think anybody's a bad person, honestly. Even the white girl who did her thing. I mean, I think it's okay for women to be competitive.
We're living and learning. They're young women. They're,
Right.
they're embarking upon their budding life. They just became adults a few years ago. I mean, just allow this process to be this way. I see things that college students do all the time. And I'm just like, well, that's a 19-year-old, that's a 20-year-old, those are typical things that they do. And it's okay. It's okay. In their process of developing and growing. We hold each other to these, we hold Black women to these impossible standards, I think.
Well, no, but let's take her race and gender out of it a little bit, in the sense
How
that
can we take that out?
No, we can take it out. The reason we can take it out is we can say, what if that was a white boy? If that was a white boy who did the same thing, would we have the exact same reaction? Like, would we say, it's okay, everything you did was cool, keep going, you go, boy, that's great, And I'm not saying that race is not important here, but I'm saying that the way to understand the impact that race has is to take race out and say, how would the world react if it were not racial? So if that were not a Black woman, chances are Keith Olbermann wouldn't have said, what a effing idiot. We know this, right? The white journalist who said negative things about this Black woman probably wouldn't have said the same thing if that was a white boy that they admired. We know that for a fact. We know these things, right? Because when the white girl did it, the Keith Olbermann and the media didn't respond the same way. They're racist. We know these things. White people gonna be white. We know this, right? So given that we know these things, given that we know racism is real, given that we know there's a double standard, given that we know white people are always gonna be white, the question becomes at that point, is there more we can learn from this? If you want to hear us explain to you that white people don't treat you the same, then you about 100 years too late to this conversation. You should have known that when you were a little kid. I grew up in Kentucky. I knew white people are not going to view me the same as they view another white person. I don't know who put it in your head that white-owned media, is going to treat a Black athlete the same as they treat a white athlete. Isaiah Thomas was talking about that with Larry Bird 40 years ago. 40 years ago. Yeah. So let's be clear. Ain't nobody saying that there's not a racial double standard. If that's what you're here to scream about, you're missing the real conversation. That's the first grader conversation. We know these things. So let's stop. Let's move past that. The next question that I'm looking at is, I'm looking at some other factors that exist here. First off, I get it. She won a championship. You go, girl. You should feel good about yourself. You got caught up in the game. That's, go for it. But let me just tell you a little secret. I remember one time I was in a competitive championship game, and I was in a situation where I was run up against a rival that had pissed me off, was talking smack, getting in my face. We was getting each other's face, going back and forth. We won that game. And you know what happened after the game? I was in their face. Yeah, sucker, I told you. Da-da-da. I was doing all the yelling, screaming, taunting. I didn't do this because we didn't do all that. But I was literally taunting them like crazy over the fact that they had lost. And and what happened was my mentor did say something to me, and he said, "Look at them, boys. They already feel like crap. You only made yourself look like a bigger asshole because you dominated them. Now you're rubbing it in. It's like when Michael Jordan gave his acceptance speech for the Hall of Fame. All Michael did was taunt all the dudes he beat all throughout his career, and people were like, "Michael, you won. You ain't gotta say nothing. You don't have to. You don't have to tell us how great you are. You're showing your insecurity now." Now you're showing, you're showing something that you're not acting like a champion, right? That's what they said to Michael. They hated Michael's speech. They were like, "This was the dumbest Hall of Fame speech." So again, Michael got the trophies, but Michael ended up looking like the biggest asshole. Now maybe Michael doesn't care; he's a billionaire. But a lot of people said that wasn't the best way for you to carry yourself as a champion. So I'm not here to beat her down or degrade her, and I'm not certainly not here to tell her she
I
didn't
like
have.
you were.
No, I'm not.
Yeah,
No, no. I said she's a champion. That's the best thing I can say about anybody. You won. You fought through it. Good for you. But what I'm saying is, I can't look at a 21-year-old and say, "Well, everything you're doing is perfect. Everything you're doing is okay," because sometimes the world is mean to you. So I'm gonna go to the other extreme of that, completely validating every single thing you do. Because at that point, I'm failing at my job. I would be failing at my job as a mentor. I said, if I was her dad, I'm not her dad. But if I was her dad, I'd be like, "Sweetie, you already whooped their ass. Why you gotta act like that white girl's low class? Yeah, what she did was tacky as hell. But that don't mean you got to do the same thing she does. You ain't got to
okay.
stop copying white people. You don't have to copy what white people do. That's my 2 cents. Go ahead. I'll let you respond.
Yeah, I want to jump in here because I didn't really see that she was like aggressively taunting this person. Like, that's not what I saw. I just saw her put her hand in her face like that, and that was it. She didn't say anything to the lady. She didn't cuss her out. She didn't get in her face and say, we won, you lost. She didn't do anything. She wasn't even looking at her. Oh, that's my ring. I love it. She was just like, she didn't say anything. Her mouth was closed. She left it all out there on the court. So I mean, I don't think that she was as aggressive as like the scenario that you just laid out. I think she was just a little like, that's what's up. She was celebrating. So I don't know what's the line between celebrating and nonverbal behavior. I don't know what the difference is, but I just think like it was just a little blown out of proportion in terms of throwing all these nasty labels at her. And I did read a couple of the things that were said about her and the comments that were made about Angel that I thought was just like unwarranted, a little unfair, and kind of blown out of proportion. That's the part that I'm responding to more so than anything. It's not like they fought and she pushed her or did anything overly aggressive. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, that I agree with. I thought that the white media, I don't know why people think white people love them so much. I don't know why we expect white media to ever be fair to black people, black athletes. The best thing in the world that my father ever taught me was that white people don't love you, and you need to understand that now. So really, when this sort of thing happens, and people are like, "Oh, white people, they're not being nice to us. They said something bad about us." I'm like, "Yeah, they've been saying bad things about you since slavery." Right. So I think we got to kind of get it out of our head that's why we need black owned media. That's why we need black owned institutions. That's why we need black owned businesses. Because if you're complaining that your white boss doesn't treat you the same as he treats a white person, well, that's because it's a white business. It's not a black business. When you say white media treats you different from the way they treat black athletes or black people in the media, well, it's because we should have more black owned media. So I think black people have to kind of understand that as a fundamental fact. Now, in terms of the media's overreaction to the whole incident, I agree. I thought it was definitely overblown. It was definitely kind of ridiculous, and it was silly. And really, much of the conversation wasn't driven by their reaction to what Angel did. The conversation that we're having today is driven by the counter reaction to the reaction. It's people coming back and saying and defending her, and people saying like, "Hey, wait a minute, why are you talking about this black girl like that? That ain't right." So to me, I think it's ultimately good for the sport. I think at the same time, it's one of those things where I encourage black people to stop waiting for white people to tell you that you're wonderful and that you're beautiful and that you're smart and that you're good. It doesn't mean white people are all trying to be evil every day. It just means that we have to learn to love ourselves. And so one of the best things Angel said at the end was she said, I love myself. And I think that that's awesome. But at some point, the thing is, I think that there always has to be a balance between our commitment to self-love and our ability and willingness to grow and whatever that means, whatever that looks like. So I don't think anybody, has ever helped me who said, well, because the world is mean to you, boys, as a black man, everything you do is okay. Everything you do is fine. Everything you do is black boy magic. Because some of the stuff I did was not black man magic, and that's what my father did. My father guided me on some of that. So
Okay.
so anybody thinks that I'm criticizing her, that's silly to say that. If you think that people criticize you because they want to support you and help you grow, that to me is going to create a blind spot for you. And people won't want to be around you, and you won't even know why. Well, because everybody's told you your whole life that your shit does not stink and that you're perfect in everything you do. And that is why, for example, when we talk about Kanye, when Kanye went up on that stage and decided to snatch an award out of Taylor Swift's hand, and everybody's saying, you go, boy, that's a great move, good job, good job. And then Kanye's mad that he doesn't get invited to award shows and no one wants to be around him. Then I think that means that his so-called friends, created a blind spot by not giving him healthy critique in terms of helping him to be worthy of the position that he holds in society. So I think Angel's a champion. I mean, there's no doubt about it. All I'm saying is, why you gotta act like the dirty white girl? What the white girl did was dirty. Why do we as black people always gotta copy what white people do? And then when it doesn't work out, we're kind of like mad about it. I just don't get that part. I just don't. I've always thought that we were a notch above. We were a step ahead. And so I think that she is. Clearly she is. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, well, I think when you talked about self-love, I think self-love is so important. And in order to grow, you have to have self-love. Okay. Self-love is saying at my best, at my worst, I'm still being the best me. And I think that's what everybody needs to have. It's when you don't have that self-love is when you can't grow. Okay. So it's weird because it's the opposite of what you would think it would be. We all know white media is racist, right? The problem is that as consumers of white media and what they say and the negative images, all of the media and media, I think white media, we should just to say media is very hostile toward black people, especially black women. And what happens is that we internalize that. So black men internalize these negative stereotypes about black women, and we can be our own worst enemies toward each other. How could we not? It's what you're surrounded by. And black women, we can internalize some of the negative stereotypes about ourselves. Black men internalize some of the negative stereotypes about themselves and about each other. So, just being consumers of media, let's just call it all media because it's all racist, right? Being consumers of this, how can we not be affected by how we treat each other and the things that we do to each other to bring ourselves down and bring each other down, particularly in our relationships with each other. So I think the self-love that you were talking about, it's mandatory. It's mandatory in this process, and it's very difficult to obtain when you're looking at media and seeing all of these images that reflect self-hatred.
Yeah, but Reverend James Dixon says, I doubt you were ever in competitive sports, sir.
I was in competitive sport. Oh, you're talking about you?
Yeah, I think that's funny. People talking just don't know what they're talking about. Shit, I did every sport, man. I did basketball, football, track. I wish I could have did baseball. My father was a great baseball player, but he was never around to teach me how to play. But I think I would have been even better at baseball. But yeah, I did all the competitive.
You're very athletic, boys. Not only that, but you play golf. You're a runner.
Well, I learned a lot of my lessons. Well, I learned a lot of the things that made me successful in life came from sports. Sports teaches you a lot about life. It teaches you how to set goals. It teaches you how to work as a team. It teaches you how to outwork the next man. It teaches you how to stay focused. There's so many things I learned from sports. And so when I got to college, I was the number one student on the entire University of Kentucky campus. And it came from the competitiveness I picked up from playing sports. I wanted to win. I like winning. I don't like losing. I've never wanted to be a loser. I've never been a loser in my life. And when I did lose, there was always a lesson. I learned from loss. And I encourage, everyone to kind of just sort of, see this in different ways, right? Like we know the racism's there. We know white people gonna be white. We know they're gonna say what they're gonna say, right? I don't give a shit what white people think about me. I just don't. And I really think that black people, you have to embrace that because I think that as long as you're sitting around worshiping the words of white people, like literally honoring their words by constantly reacting to everything they say about you, you'll never truly be free. You'll always be a puppet on the string because if they want to get you to do something or behave a certain way, all they got to do is say the right word. Oh, we called him the N word. Oh, he's gonna get distracted now. He ain't gonna be building nothing no more. He gonna stop building. He's gonna stop growing. He's gonna stop evolving so he can spend all his time reacting to me. So what black
Yeah.
people got to understand is that when you are constantly reacting to the words of white people, you are basically a white supremacist. You are honoring their words and acknowledging everything they say about you, and you are giving more value to what they think about you than what you think about yourself. So, like for example, this Reverend guy comes in the chat and says, "I doubt you ever play competitive sports, sir." I don't give a fuck. Like you can say what you want. I know I play sports. I know I was an athlete. I know I'm a competitor. So what you say about me means nothing compared to what I say about myself. So what I encourage you to do is look. We know this young lady. She won a damn championship. And I don't think, I mean, she can handle however she wants, but to me, you got the ring. You're the winner. That white girl's crying right now. She's sad. She's depressed because she lost. If you're the winner, you're the champion. You got the crown. You got the ring. At that point, ain't no more conversation need to be had. You don't have to prove anything to anybody. That's what I would encourage people to consider is I get it. She was responding to the energy that was thrown at her. The white girl did it, so she responded. I get that. But just because they do something to you don't mean you got to do the same thing back. Just because they set the tone don't mean you got to follow the lead. Just because they started something don't mean you got to finish it. Sometimes you finish it by leveling up. The best way to defeat an enemy is not to conquer them. It's to level up to the point where you're not even thinking about them no more because you're going to move on to a higher challenge. But some people ain't gonna get it though. Some people ain't gonna get it. Some people ain't ready for that. But for those of y'all that are ready, that want to operate on a higher vibrational frequency, I encourage you to do that. The best way I defeated most of my enemies was when I conquered the situation so badly that I didn't even think about that person anymore. When you disappear from literally my entire universe, that means I clearly conquered you because I ain't even trying to conquer you anymore. Go ahead, babe. I'll let you get the last one.
No, I was gonna say, I'm just curious. Wait, you mentioned that Angel was mimicking what someone else did. Do you know that for sure? That she was just Was it like a rivalry? Can you speak more about that, please?
Well,
because I didn't know that detail.
Well, this is the picture that the media's been showing. They're basically saying what she did was similar to what the other girl did. So apparently, I don't know. Now the thing was that the white girl, when she did it, she wasn't doing it at Angel. She was doing it at the player at Louisville, actually, the one that you and I, that our son knows, that knew at Louisville. Yeah. Okay. So this is what I was seeing now. I'm imagining that all this was not unprovoked. That that her reaction was probably driven by the fact that during this game there was some competitive energy that had risen. It's a national championship game. The white girl, I think she was player of the year or something. And the black girl, though, was the March Madness player of the year or whatever, or like MVP of the whole tournament. So these are two really good players that just got into a rivalry, right? And that's what I'm seeing, right? So I think that her reaction wasn't just unprovoked. It was her responding to energy that she had received earlier. And I think that that's all fine. And I'm not even knocking it. I just kind of would, again, like I said, if she were my daughter, I'd probably be like, you ain't got to do all that. You beat her by 15 points. Ain't nothing else left to do. That's what I would say.
Okay, so there was an actual rival, of course, between the two girls because the Caitlin, she was the MVP. Caitlin was. Is that what you said?
I think Caitlin was the National Player of the Year, if I'm not mistaken.
National Player of the Year and didn't get the ring? Oh, right. Okay.
Right.
Come on. Yeah. That's beautiful. It's just the beauty of sports.
I could be wrong. But yeah.
Okay, that's just, you know what I think? I think that's just the fun and the excitement of sports, the competitiveness of sports. It should not have been taken that gravely serious. I mean, come on. And you know what happens when viewers see viewers who are white and they see a white girl up against a black girl and they're looking for their great white hope. They are identifying with the white girl. So when she was taunted at the end, when she kind of, I'm not even going to say tauntively, I'm going to say when she did the body language, when her body language was like that, I think as the viewers, it was more, if you're a white person, you identify with a white player on the court, it's almost like, dag, she got me. You know what I mean? It's like taunting me. And that's what happens psychologically when you identify with somebody. It's almost like a personal attack against me. So there was a lot of hatred toward Angel because they felt personally attacked. That's what happens. So now I see. I think I have a better perspective.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, I just think it's fun. I love stuff like
that.
It
is fun. It's great.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of like, I think that as a former athlete, I feel like there's a point where, when the game is over, there's a point where you show some level of respect for the opposition. Like, good game, man. And that's it, right? Like when you carry it over, like it's the championship, you just won it, you've blown them away. I think that there's some people who see that as a problem because, now don't get me wrong, I think that they were mad also because they wanted the white girls to win, right? I think that there was some
that was a reaction to that.
Right. So when you can't beat them, you criticize them on some other criteria, right? Well,
you are won. Inferior.
You won, but you have
inferior.
No right. You won, but you have no class, right? And that's when you're like, yeah. You're just saying that because you mad because you lost, right? So that part is cool. Again, but I'm thinking like in terms of just that whole incident. I think that if she had been doing that during the game, like in the middle of the game, like I hit a 3 in your face, now I'm doing that. That's one thing. But when you do it after the game is over. And it's like, now you're feeling like shit because I just beat the crap out of you. And, and now there's nothing else to really talk about. And I think that's the part where I'd probably be like, come on, you didn't really have to do all that now, but still, there's nothing really to criticize. I mean, people can do whatever they want.
I'm going to tell you one thing. When I go to work and a white girl gets on my nerves at work, I'm going to be like, I don't see you. I'm going to give her this little hand style. I don't see you.
I think it's black people. I really think it's black people.
I love it.
I think it's black people, that to me, that should be your motto. Like,
I
really,
don't see you.
that's literally been my motto to any white person that looks down on me or thinks I'm inferior or wants to somehow belittle me because I'm black. Man, I don't even see you.
I don't see you.
And I'm gonna tell you, when you are constantly reacting to what they do or what they say about you, what you're saying is, I see you. I'm paying so much attention to you. Everything. If you really want to disrespect somebody, you ignore them. If you ignore them and they know that what they say and what they do has no effect on you, then that's how you truly defeat them, right? And I think that as black people, I hope we'll kind of understand that, right? Because remember, a lot of this conversation is happening because we have so much respect for what white people think about us, right? So it's like, how dare you say that about us? How dare you say that about the black girl? How dare you? My feeling is like, of course they're going to be mad. They lost. You lost. Of course you're going to be mad. Why in the world am I going to pay 1 ounce of attention to anything you said? Because everything that you're saying is coming from a position of pure haterology. Player haterology. No respect up in here. So just go be mad. Go write your articles. Say what you want. It's like when I had that little thing that happened with the whole Lizzo thing. Like, I knew that when I called out record labels for promoting obesity and mammyism and black and female stereotypes, I knew the white media was going to say a whole lot of crazy stuff about me. I knew they were going to say things that weren't true. I knew they were going to say things that were mean. And you saw my reaction. My reaction was, I don't care. I don't respect you anyway. So I don't care what you have to say about me because I know who I am. So black people, I hope you'll understand that. If you really know who you are, you don't have to sit and react to what your haters have to say about you. You just keep on moving, and just take it from a guy who has a lot of haters. You my wife can attest to this. You've seen it, babe. There have been thousands of videos done about me on the internet where people are saying horrible things that are not true, the meanest things in the world. How much time do you see me spend watching any of those videos?
Oh my goodness. And I'll show it to you and you'll say, get that out of my face. For real.
Exactly.
That's what
I
you
don't
say. I
care
don't
what
even
you
want to look
think.
at
Haters get no power in this space because I understand energy. And I understand that if I'm giving you my attention, that's a blessing. And I'm not going to bless people who hate me. So if you're an adversary and an enemy, don't bless your enemies by giving them your attention. Ignore
Right.
them. Start with racism. Start with racism. Don't give it your attention. So that's it, guys. I didn't mean to get to preaching on that, but I just really want everybody
I
to
got,
understand that. That's important. You gotta understand, you gotta internalize that stuff.
you know
Go
what,
ahead,
boys?
babe.
I feel like this conversation, have you noticed that this conversation is now taking a turn? First, this conversation is now where we kind of agreeing with Angel a little bit. I don't
Mm-hmm.
see you. Could you read that quote one more time by Angel? Because I think it's about self-love. Read that quote one more time by Angel.
Okay. I got. Let's see. She says, "All year I was critiqued about who I was. I don't fit the narrative. I don't fit in the box that y'all want me to be in. I'm too hood. I'm too ghetto. Y'all told me that all year. But when other people do it, y'all say nothing. So this was for the girls that look like me. That's going to speak up on what they believe in. It's unapologetically you. That's what I did it for tonight. It was bigger than me tonight. It was bigger than me. Twitter's going to go on a rage every time, and I'm happy. I feel like I've helped grow women's basketball this year. I'm super happy and excited. So I'm looking forward to celebrating in the next season." That's what she
Oh
said.
my goodness. Bravo, Angel. What a beautiful quote, because I think that's basically sums up everything that we've now come to process this a little bit right here. Don't you think? We've come
Yes,
to this conclusion. Everything Angel
absolutely.
said is spot on. Spot on.
Well, you know what? I'm cheering for her. I'm rooting for her.
I'm cheering for her too.
And I'm gonna tell you, she won a national championship. That's pretty exciting. And congratulations to LSU. You know, they beat the crap out of Iowa. It's always so much fun when you see like when you see like a really great, like well organized all white team like just get dominated by a bunch of like kick ass black athletes.
Talented people.
There's nothing wrong, no disrespect to white people. I'm not trying to be anti nothing, but it's true. Like they did that back in the 1968. They have what they call the Brown versus Board of Education of college basketball, where all white Kentucky. I went to Kentucky. All white Kentucky. Adolph Rupp had a coach, or Adolph Rupp was a coach of Kentucky at the time. And he said, "I will never recruit a black man to play at Kentucky." So you had all white Kentucky with their racist coach, and they played against, I think it was Texas Western. That had a bunch of like all black. It was an all black team, and Texas Western beat the crap out of Kentucky. I mean, beat the crap out of them. And in the very next year, Kentucky eventually folded and said, "Okay, we got to recruit some black athletes." So this is cool. This is big, and I'm really happy for them. I'm happy for Angel, and I encourage you not to worry about what people say about her. Like if you like her, then just like her, and that's it. You don't need white-owned media to validate your opinion about your own athletes. And I think that's important. We have to pay attention to that. We sometimes feel like we're looking for white people to tell us it's okay to feel a certain way about somebody, or because white media praises someone, we start praising them, right? Even Barack Obama. I talked to people inside the Obama campaign, and they said that we couldn't get black people to support Obama until white people in Iowa, of all places, I kid you not,
Yeah.
Iowa, if y'all remember, Obama did not start getting black votes until he won in Iowa. So when Lily White, Iowa supported Obama, black people were like, "Oh, okay, so it's all right for us to like him." Well, I liked the guy before Iowa. Why are you waiting for other people to give you permission on what you can like and not like? That's crazy to me. So we gotta think about these things. That white supremacy runs deep in our blood, and we gotta deal with that.
Oh my goodness. Can I just like one up you on your conversation? I don't know if people know in the 90s. I'm from Gary, Indiana. I don't know anybody from Gary, Indiana know the story, but I think it was 1991. 1991. Gary Roosevelt went up against this really elite, all white high school with Allen Henderson was a player, and it was Robinson. What was his name?
Glenn Robinson.
Glenn Robinson
Was
went
it
up
Big
against
Dog? Was that his nickname? Big Dog
Big
or
Dog
something?
Glenn Robinson. And it was funny because that year, Gary was like the murder capital of the year. And they were called the ghetto. I mean, we called ourselves the
They
ghetto
called
boys.
the Ghetto Boys.
The ghetto boys played up against Burbuff, which is this. I mean, it is like, it's one of the best schools in Indiana against one of the murder capitals of Indiana, went up against each other. And it was just like, it was just bigger than basketball. It was just like, it was a big racial divide between the entire state. It was beautiful. I love that I was part of the whole entire process. I went to that game, and I didn't even go to Roosevelt, but I was just being, it put Gary on the map. They were on the cover of ESPN, and they were talked about a lot. And then they got I think Indiana changed the rules. So like a big team like Gary Roosevelt would never play against Burbuff anymore. So they got rid of that. They put the schools, I think, into some categories. But anyway, that's what this reminds me of, for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's well, I'm gonna tell you, I think Black excellence is everywhere, and the thing about our excellence is we have to remember it's not just in sports. We're excellent at almost everything that we do. So it's very important that we make sure that we show that excellence in everything that we do. So anyway, well, shout out to Gary, Indiana, and
Yes.
I do know what you're talking about. I feel like I'm from Gary because my wife is from Gary, and I love that city. And also, everybody, I want you to know this is Pillow Talk with Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. You can follow Dr. Alicia at coachingwithdralicia.com. She sees clients, she does coaching, things like that. So feel free to reach out to her website. It's right there on the screen. Also, my name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I have a new book out called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. It is on Amazon. It's a best-selling book. You can get it overnight if you go to Amazon and take a look at it. And I'll be in Houston April 21st and 22nd doing a 2-day Black Wealth Boot Camp, a deep dive on generational wealth training. So if you want to get off the corporate plantation, join us in Houston. You can learn more at boycewatkins.com. All right, everybody. Well, God bless you. Have a good day. And whatever your opinion on all this is, we love you and we respect you. We appreciate you. Hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe on your way out, and we'll see you soon. Take care. Peace.
Bye.